Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. Today we have with us Sherri Coffelt. Sherri is a business coach and consultant who takes her clients' dreams of having the freedom and flexibility to work when they want, from where they want, and with the clients they love, and helps them make that their reality. Welcome to the show, Sherri. We're really excited to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you, Jill. I'm so glad to be here.
Back from Portugal.
Yes, just got
living the things you're teaching.
Yes, I do. I definitely call it live your bucket list now and take your business with you.
I love that. And it's never too early to start that bucket list.
No, and why wait for someday? Let's do what we want to do now and live the lifestyle we want and have the business we want.
Exactly. So how'd you get started in all of this?
Oh, goodness. Well, I have been in this crazy topsy-turvy world of coaching consulting for going on 24 years in May. And that 24 years, I've had a lot of different versions of my business. But quite honestly, one of the things that has been a constant through that time is my belief that all businesses need to start with the business owner getting clarity on their vision for their life, not for their business, for their life. Because then we can build a business that fits into that life versus taking over your life. Now, I know you've been around for a while too in this industry, and we all know those business owners that get into business and, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years in, they look up and they realize that they've built this hopefully successful business, but they're not happy. They're not living the life that they want to live. They're not maybe doing what they really want to do. And that's the tragedy to me. Because I truly do believe we get to have both. So through all my years of coaching and consulting, I've always believed in vision. And honestly, about, what's it been now? About 8 years ago now? I think it's been about 8 years ago now. I was updating my vision letter, which is part of my vision process that I do every year. Mm-hmm. And I realized that once again, I was writing how I wanted to travel more, in quotes. And I call that knock upside the head moment, when I realized that here I am teaching, start with your vision. And yet I had unconsciously got myself into a place in my business where I was very successful and was doing what I wanted to do in my business. But because most of my clients were coming from live networking and live speaking, I was kind of stuck being there, if you will. Mm-hmm. And if I stopped accepting speaking engagements or going to networking events, then my flow of clients would start to trickle down, right? So I could hardly, take off for Portugal for a month and not have it impact my business. So, there's that old saying, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Well, that was the day really I put the stake in the ground, and within 6 months, I completely revamped my marketing and my business. I was already doing quite a bit of online marketing, but I really ramped it up in a different way. I completely changed my goal, which was to travel full time. Mm-hmm. Sold my house, put the stuff I couldn't part with in storage, and I was off for Australia for 4 months. And I've never looked back. And that was the day that I think that I ramped up, or that I amped up maybe, my commitment to helping business owners to really get that clarity on what they want their lifestyle to look like, and helping them build the business of their dreams that allows them to live that lifestyle, but also serve the clients they want to serve.
That's awesome. So are you still in Australia, or are you back in the
No,
US?
I have been all over the world in the pre-COVID, and then of course COVID kind of messed things up for me, and then ramping up my travel again now. I'm just got back from Portugal and Spain, as I mentioned, and
Mhm.
taking off for visiting some family in the summer, and then heading to Iceland and heading to the east coast of the US for a while, and then heading to Montreal and Quebec City, and that's the rest of this year at least. So I plan my year out. And then I also work that speaking into my travel, because when I decide where I want to go, then I reach out to people that I have in my community that are living there, try to
Mhm.
find people that they know that might be looking for speakers, so I can combine that business and personal travel. So yeah, so it works pretty well. So yeah, no, I travel all over the world. And Canada is the fall for me this year, and then Australia actually is what I'm working on for next January through probably April or May. I love
Very
Australia
fun. Yeah,
and New Zealand. Actually, I'm going to New Zealand. I was in New Zealand when COVID hit, so
ooh,
I didn't get to finish out my trip. And luckily, I almost decided to stay there and wait it out. Thank goodness I didn't, or I would have been there for over 2 years.
yeah, yeah, that
They
was a
shut
little
her
prison
down.
island.
Yeah, they really shut it down. So yeah, yeah. So
But there are people that survived it.
there are absolutely, and you know, it wouldn't have been the worst thing that could have happened. But I am glad that I came back.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you came back too. So
Yeah.
I know you were talking about speaking live, but
Mhm.
do you do stuff online too?
I do. Most of my business is really online these days.
Mhm.
I do live speaking engagements. Like I said, when I go to a place, I usually go for a month to each
Mhm.
location because I want to live there. I want to live like a local. And I set up my office. I have my workspace. I have my work hours while I'm in that location.
Mhm.
And so I want to speak live if I'm there to local networking groups or marketing groups or whatever, entrepreneurial groups. But for the most part, I would say about 70% of my speaking is virtual, doing podcasts like this and doing my own workshops, doing trainings for other people's groups, all kinds of things, summits, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So a lot of your marketing is just through networking, and
Mhm.
I'm sure you get on podcasts through networking
Yes,
too, because
yes,
that's
I
how
do.
we
And
connected.
yeah, and one of my top uh, mantras, if you will, to my clients is to choose no more than 3 marketing strategies and go deep. Because one of the biggest, I truly believe that the 2 biggest enemies of entrepreneurship are inconsistency and overwhelm. And inconsistency, in my opinion, causes a lot of the overwhelm. And one of the biggest places that we see inconsistency, particularly in newer entrepreneurs, but frankly, it can happen to any of us, is in marketing. Because let's face it, there's so much noise out there. Every week, you know, you hear another new tactic that you have to be doing, which is not true by any stretch of the imagination. And so when you're new, you don't really know how to sort those filters. You don't know how to filter that information. So you end up doing just a little bit of everything and not doing anything well, or giving up on a strategy before it's really had a chance to work, to do the tweaking and the testing, to make sure that you've optimized it before you decide it is or it isn't for you. So I have my 3 marketing strategies, which for me are speaking. LinkedIn is a primary strategy for me, and live networking. Those are my 3 top strategies. And then I sprinkle in some other things here and there.
Do you use groups on LinkedIn?
I do not use groups on LinkedIn. We could spend our whole time talking about that. LinkedIn is an amazing place for entrepreneurs like us to network. It's how I'm getting about 40% of my connections. And and in fact, I think we met on LinkedIn, if I
Probably.
remember correctly. Yeah, I think we did. And I use LinkedIn as a place to grow my connections. So I'm growing my community, but then to turn those connections into relationships. And those relationships turn into connection calls, which turn into collaborations, referral partnerships, and yes, clients. So I get so many opportunities for collaboration and expanding my network through the people that I meet on LinkedIn, whether it's doing a podcast and getting access to your audience with your podcast or someone else's, or free gift swaps, or interview trades. I do a lot of that, or speaking to other people's groups. Collaborations are one of the best ways for entrepreneurs to cost effectively grow your audience, because we all need to build our list. So so it's definitely one of the ways that I use it. But groups, to answer your question directly, groups on LinkedIn have never been as effective. Now, Facebook groups aren't nearly as effective as they used to be, but Facebook groups are still the best group out there, at least right now.
And I've kind of found that I did know about LinkedIn groups, and I was kind of curious about that. LinkedIn honestly is not one of my major marketing methods. I
Right.
use the podcast and Facebook groups is how I market, but you're totally bang on when you're talking about people trying to do too many things and switching horses and not really getting good and giving it enough time.
Yeah.
It's nothing happens overnight.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
marketing
And
world.
everybody is looking for that quick hit. And I want to get to 6 figures and I want to do it tomorrow. And the reality is that most of us are not going to have that happen. There are going to be a few that do have that happen, and more power to them. But for most new entrepreneurs, it takes structure, it takes planning, it takes consistency. There's that word again. And really getting clear on who you want to attract, why you are best qualified and uniquely qualified to help them solve a problem, and then how you are going to help them solve their problem, so that you can attract them to you in a way that has them saying, they're raising their hand and saying, yes, I want more of that.
And that circles right back around to your starting point, where write down your vision, because if you don't know where you want to go, and I would even say, if you don't know what the end goal of your business is, you need to sit down and give that a real good think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you trying to grow a business to sell it? Are you trying to grow a personal brand that is really built just around you? Are you trying to build something that you want to turn into a 7-figure business or not? And I'll speak for myself. I've had a 7-figure
monetary
business.
goal.
Yeah. I've had a 7-figure business. I don't want a 7-figure business anymore. That's not the lifestyle I want to live. I don't want the people that it takes to typically run it. I don't want I don't want to work that hard. I'm going to be flat out honest. I don't want to work that hard right now at this point in my life. And so you have to be clear on that, because the direction you want to get to, as you're saying, is going to change how you build that business. It's going to change the marketing strategies that you choose. It's going to change the amount of investment that you need to make up front in building that business. You have to be clear on that. Absolutely. And then the flip side of that coin is, how do you want that business to fit into your life? So really getting clear on, what do you want a typical day to look like? And I don't mean just making up the perfect nirvana day. I mean, what do you really want your typical day in and day out, to look like? I mean, for me, I want travel to be a part of that. And I want to be spending at least 6 months a year in another country and exploring and being able to, really get into the cultures of other countries and understand how the people live, and live like a local, while still being able to attract and serve the clients that I want to serve. So when I build my business, virtual speaking, LinkedIn, networking, most of which I do virtually, are perfect marketing vehicles for that. But if I said, well, I think I'll build a live speaking business, it would be a lot harder. I could do it somewhat, but it certainly would be a lot harder for me to build my business and live that lifestyle that I've chosen to live.
Yeah, it's all about knowing the end before you start at the beginning.
Yep.
Where
do
you want to go? We hear that, but for most people, especially coaches out there, because they get into coaching, they just want to help people, and bless their hearts. I love that about them, and they're so passionate about what they do, and some of them are so amazing. I mean, I've run into people, I've had personal experiences with some of these people where they've healed things on me that
Right. Yep.
it's like it's gone. And it
Yeah, it
was
is amazing.
just like, oh wow, I can't believe you did that. But they 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 just want to help as many people as they can. I've talked to coaching these are coaching companies that and
Mhm.
their goal was like we want to help 1 million people. There's
Right.
3 of them. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, that's a good one too. Is your structure aligned with your goal? The other thing that popped for me when you were talking is that um so many of us as entrepreneurs, we start a business, and I'm pulling a number 90% out of the air. I think it's probably pretty close, to be honest, but I don't have
mhm,
like track statistics of that. But literally, I think about 90% of us as entrepreneurs started our business because we have a gift we want to share.
yeah,
Now, that gift can be, like you were saying, healing, energy work, or graphic design, or whatever it is. We have a gift that we want to share with the world, so we decide we want to turn it into business. One of the things that I often say is that the minute that you decide to turn your gift into a business, you are no longer an energy healer or a graphic designer or a virtual assistant. You are now in the business of providing those services. And most of us don't have the background to know how to run a business. So what happens is we say, okay, I'm going to hang my shingle as a, fill in the blank, and we want to help people, but we go out there and we don't have the foundation in place. We're not clear on our vision. That's one. And then two, we don't have a foundation in place from which to launch the business, basically. And I
mhm,
know this is the boring stuff, or people think it's the boring stuff, but the fact of the matter is, if you don't have clarity on who you want to serve, and if you don't have clarity on what the real problems are and the pain points are that are strong enough for them to be willing to invest in getting a solution to get away from that pain. Because let's face it, we buy to avoid pain, is primarily why people buy, and then have a solution that explains why you're uniquely qualified to solve that problem, and an offer that is magnetic enough that people are going to say yes. It doesn't matter how good at fill in the blank again you are, or frankly how many marketing strategies you're out there trying to implement, you're not going to be successful. But yet people want to skip that foundation step. And they think it takes too much time. They think they don't need it. They think they know. That's another one. Oh yeah, I know my messaging. But then you start asking questions and they really don't. And I had a client, this is years ago now. He was an internationally known doctor, still is actually, not was, internationally known doctor, and he had written a book, and he wanted to share his message with millions, right? So he wanted women, in his case, were his target, to be able to get access to this information in a way that they could implement what he was teaching in their lives. And so he thought he wanted to create an online course. So he went out there and he created an online course that kind of followed the teaching in his book. And he launched his online course. He had paid a marketing company 25 grand to help him launch his course. And at the end of the day, and he'd been working on this when I met with him, he'd been working on it for like 18 months. He'd sold 3 courses. And when I started asking him some of those basic questions about the pain points, and well, what do these women tell you is their real problem? He didn't have the words. So it was no wonder that his marketing was falling flat, even though he'd spent all that money, because he really didn't know what his ideal client wanted. And so, yeah, I could talk about this for hours, but it's so important that you get,
it's the foundation.
yeah,
It's the fundamentals, and they don't teach you that when you go to get your little shiny certificate.
no,
So instead,
they
they think,
don't.
oh, I need another certificate.
Yeah,
No,
you're
what
so
you need to
right.
do is drop your little hiney down to SCORE or somebody
Yep.
who can help you. And the Senior Corps of Retired Engineers, they're amazing people. Or
Yes.
call Sherri and
Yes.
let Sherri
Yeah.
guide you.
And I'll just add, call whoever, go to whoever, just make sure that they have done what you want to do.
Mhm.
And SCORE is amazing. I was involved in SCORE for a bit quite a few years ago. The challenge with something like SCORE is a lot of times they are retired corporate people.
Yeah.
And they don't have the experience for most of us as entrepreneurs. So it's difficult for them to help as well, because they're trying to take their skills from corporate and turn it into an entrepreneurial setting.
And a lot of them are retired, therefore they're probably not really all that familiar with starting an online business, because
Yes, they're
that
not.
is a fundamentally
Yes,
different than
it
starting an
is. It
offline
is. Yeah.
business.
And that's why I say always find someone as a mentor and or a coach who has done what you want to do. They have, gone from 0 to 7 figures if that's your goal. They have successfully built a consistent flow of clients. They have created the agency. They have done whatever it is you want to do. Make sure they had that experience. Because that's what you want, right? Is to follow in someone's footsteps to shortcut the path to success. That's why you invest in a coach to get support.
And don't be afraid to hire somebody that's just a little bit ahead of you.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
you may find that the shorter the distance is between where you are and where you want to go. I mean, ultimately, you might want that 7-figure business, but if you're starting at 0, you need to be talking to somebody that's, 5 or 10K a month.
Yes.
Because they remember the things that you're going through and how to
Or
fix them.
that's who they work with right now.
Yeah, and that's who
Yeah.
they're working with right now. Somebody that's making, 6 and 7 figures and trying to help somebody just starting out
Right.
doesn't really remember
Yeah, I would
all
agree
of the
with that.
day-to-day
Yeah.
bits that you're struggling with.
Yeah.
It's the pain is fresh for them. Let's
Yes,
put it that
I would
way.
agree with that. And I think it also, one of my pet peeves is the gurus out there
Mm.
that are recycling strategies that worked for them 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And they're still selling it. And I'm like, it's not working today. The world is such a different place, yet they're still selling strategies and saying that you should do XYZ when that's not the world we live in today. And that just, in my opinion, it just gives the industry a bad name, and it drives me
Yes.
insane.
And it confuses people, especially coaches.
Absolutely. And it's why people have a lot of bad experiences with coaches, because they end up investing in these programs and they don't get the results that they want. They don't get the support that they want. And they're 6 months later and X thousands of dollars lighter in their bank account. They're in the same place they were before. And that breaks my heart.
It breaks mine too. And that's why I was mentioning, don't be afraid to hire somebody that's not all the way there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
Yeah,
do your due diligence with the person.
absolutely.
And I think we're more in a period of time where people are wanting to have a real relationship with these people that they're hiring. We're not just hiring that
Yes.
guru off the street anymore. You have to have a track record, and you need going and listening to I think they're primarily like bro marketers. The guys that were like,
Yeah.
I'll just do your high ticket thing and
Yeah,
cram it
standing in
down their
front of the
throat.
Ferraris and
That's just not it anymore.
yeah,
People,
it unfortunately still is for more people than I wish it was, to be honest. But I agree with you in terms of relationship. I think that um, one of the gifts of COVID, and there's always gifts in everything, right? Is that we did realize that we can have relationships at different levels, and we can have relationships like this, like you and I are having a relationship right now, and that there are things that are more important than the bank account, things that are more important than just being busy, for instance. So I think that I think you're right, and I think it's also why so many of the big gurus right now are having problems selling their group programs, because people are not wanting to be one of hundreds in a group program where they're really not getting any kind of personal attention. They're just one of many in a crowd on a virtual call. And one-on-one coaching or small group coaching. Like I like doing triads, for instance, because I think that there's value in the community and the connection and having more than one person to bounce ideas off of. Yet I don't ever want a group to be bigger than what I can stay on top of what every person is doing. So my
Right.
biggest group programs usually are 12 people because of that.
Yeah. And they're probably long enough that you can really help
Yes.
those 12 people. The shorter your program is, the fewer the people that you want to be pulling along. Kind of
Yeah.
like five.
Hmm.
5 is a good number to me, or maybe
Yeah.
8. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
into eights this year.
Mhm.
So it's just like, it's enough so that they can interact with each other
Mhm.
on a very intimate level.
Right.
And they can, I can, I can help them
Yeah.
individually
Yeah,
if I
absolutely.
need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And really know what, what they're saying, and read between the lines of underneath what they're saying or not saying. And
Yeah.
that's hard if you're in a group of 100 people.
Yeah. And you feel it. And usually those bigger programs, you get you get farmed out to people that really aren't the expert.
Right.
And that that annoys me a lot. Um, I've seen it a lot. Um, but
Yeah, it happens way too often, unfortunately.
but everybody starts at the beginning, and
Yep.
you're gonna learn, and you're gonna see. And uh, like I said, hiring coaches is you must continue. There's always continuing education that's going to
Hmm.
happen,
Yeah.
and it's just a business expense. Get over
Yeah.
it.
It's a
You're not.
business investment. Because
Yes.
and I think any money we spend in our business we need to think of as an investment. If
Mhm.
we, sign up for a scheduling tool, it's an investment because of the efficiency it gives us without having to do back and forth on email to set up meetings. Coaching is no different. And it all the other thing that I ask people sometimes when they're concerned about investing in coaching is, particularly for coaches, it's like, how can you possibly ask somebody to invest in you as a coach if you're not willing to invest in a coach for yourself?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
there are different coaches for different seasons. I've been, as I said, in business for almost 24 years. And in that 24 years, there's been about 2 to 3 years, if I add up the months, that I haven't had some kind of a coach. And all different kinds of coaches, from life coaches to specific tactic coaches. I had a Facebook ads coach for 3 years, for instance. Um, but I've always had someone that I could use as a sounding board, and that I could use to, prop me up when I needed propping up, because we all do, right? And to celebrate successes. That's something we don't do enough of. Someone to remind you to celebrate your successes. One of the things I do with my coaching calls is, every coaching call, I start with the question, what are you celebrating today?
Yeah.
And I do it because as entrepreneurs, we're always about what's next. And we forget to celebrate the successes along the way. And when we just take the time to celebrate the successes, it's amazing how that helps us want to go for the next thing.
It really is. And it's the whole hustle culture thing.
Yep,
You
it
know,
is.
we're here to have a life, not to work ourselves to death.
Exactly. Exactly. Boy, hallelujah. You're preaching to the choir on that one.
So I know that you offer a Freedom Finder checklist. Do you want to
I do.
tell the audience about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, no surprise since our conversation, that I am all about you being able to build a lifestyle that gives you the freedom and flexibility to live the life you want to live. And so I developed the Freedom Finder checklist to help you to see, in different areas of your life and your business, what are the things that you're already strong in, and what are the things that you may need to shore up or get some support around in order to truly build that freedom lifestyle. So it doesn't take you all that long to complete it. It's kind of a self-assessment, if you will, but it
Mhm.
helps you kind of know where to start next. So I'd love to get that to everyone, and give yourself the gift of really taking a step back. It's also a great place to start in building your vision.
Yeah. And if you haven't built your vision yet, today is a great day to start.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
We're always creating the reality that we're living. And if you don't choose one carefully, one will be provided for you.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Might not like it.
Yes, exactly. be careful the choices you make or don't make.
Yeah, mostly the choices you don't make consciously.
Right. Yes.
So Sherri, this has been a great chatting with you. What's the one thing you would like to leave the audience with today?
Oh, there's so many. My parting thought would be a reminder that you are a gift. And as we talked earlier, each of us was put on this earth, I firmly believe this, to leave the earth a better place and to share the gift that we were given, that you are uniquely qualified to share with other people. And to remember that you also deserve to be compensated for that gift, that if your desire is to turn that gift into a business, that there is a way that you can do it, and you don't have to do your business, or excuse me, do your gift as a hobby, that you can turn that gift into a business and allow it to be the vehicle that lets you live the lifestyle you want to live while you make a difference with however many people you want to make a difference with.
That's perfect. So how do people get in touch with you?
They could always contact me through LinkedIn. It's Sherri Coffelt is my LinkedIn handle. They can go to my website at resultspartner.com, or I'm sure you'll put the link to the Freedom Finder assessment in the show notes. In there'll be a link there to get in touch with me as well.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me today.
You are very welcome. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.